Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of the award-winning podcast Entrepreneurs on Fire, and you're listening to the Excelsior Journeys with George Sirois. Prepare to ignite.
Is there a burning desire within to share your creativity with the rest of the world? Do you insist on pursuing your passion by any means necessary? Then you are on an Excelsior journey, and you are not alone. Welcome back to Excelsior Journeys. This is George Sirois. And those of you who know me know that a huge part of my life is film scores. That is something that has always been a part of my life, really, as long as I can remember. The first piece of music that I ever remember hearing was when my parents took me to the first re-release of the original Star Wars. So that overture was the first piece of music that I ever remember hearing. And even hearing different classical music pieces and different rock and roll, MTV was really just kind of starting up at that point when I was a kid, like growing up in the early 80s. There was something about the film scores that I seemed to always gravitate toward. And I still remember when I was growing up in Poughkeepsie, New York, and later on in Richmond, Virginia, when I would go to high school, film scores were always being added to my collection. There was something that I was always getting. I was always getting the different cassettes, later on, a whole bunch of CDs, and that love of it just continues on to this day. I can definitely say that throughout my film score collection, I can point out to at least half of my collection and say, that piece of music inspired this scene that I wrote about. And so that is something that really, really means a lot to me. And when I entered college at Marymount Manhattan College, this was the first time I realized that I had a kindred spirit. All of a sudden, I had friends that were just as crazy about film scores as I was. And we had our favorites, and we disagreed on some things. They weren't as much of a fan of Danny Elfman as I was and still am. It just kept on growing, and it became something really, really special. I still remember in my sophomore year in my Exploring the Performing Arts class, when I got to meet Elliot Goldenthal, got his autograph. It was an amazing experience after seeing The Green Bird with that Julie Taymor directed. So there are a lot of really great experiences in my life that all seem to center around film scores. And a huge one, a big highlight for me as a film score lover, was last week's show, getting to talk to Vince DiCola, hearing all those great stories about working with Frank Stallone on Staying Alive, and then working with Sylvester Stallone on the score to Rocky IV. And I cannot wait until later on this year when we get Vince back here for part 2 of our discussion, where he's going to be talking more about Transformers the movie. But that conversation does not happen if Peter Hackman wasn't there to make it happen. Now, Peter is one of those guys that is responsible for so much going on in the film score world. Peter is a manager over at the Bohemia Group. He is a devout film score lover. He's a kindred spirit, somebody that I immediately became friendly with as soon as we started talking about bringing Vince on the show. And it's just been a real joy getting to chat with him more, getting to learn more about him, getting to research more about him. And I knew I was going to bring Peter on. He is here. He's going to be telling us all about his life with that really literally revolves around film scores. And I'm really excited to hear what he's got to say about this. So, ladies and gentlemen, from the Bohemia Group, may I introduce Peter Hackman. Peter, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, George. I don't do a lot of interviews, which I prefer. I can't stand hearing my voice, but I'm glad I'm doing this. It'll get me out of my shell a little bit. So yeah, happy to be here.
and happy to have you here. Like I said, like I said, when I got to know more about what it is that you do, what you are all about, your love for film scores, I knew that, okay, this person needs to be on my show. We need to get that sort of love for film scores out there, because I know that there is a really big fan base. And I hope that I'm right about that.
There's a decent fan base. Like, I worked at a couple labels, so I kind of know some figures as to what people buy. So there's a decent fan base. It's not, 50,000 people. It's actually much smaller. I'd say 10 to 15,000 dedicated people like you and me, George. But, you talked about being lonely and stuff. And I said, that's how I felt living in Indiana. It's like all I listened to was soundtracks and Somewhere in Time and Sister Act. I'd only play the 2 Mark Shaman cues and all this stuff. And it's a lonely existence. And it's not until like the internet came, which I'm happy about, that it kind of opened it up, and there's all these forums. You can actually talk to people and all that stuff. But how I kind of started was Lucas Kendall, great guy, gave us so much great music at Film Score Monthly. He wanted to have an event where fans would come out and he could hang out with them, and actually also try to tone it down a little bit on the message board, because people get so worked up and kind of throw jabs at each other. And it's like, dude, we're all film music fans. We should be all super happy and like, oh, that's so great, your favorite score was released, all that stuff. Right. That's how I am. I like positivityness. So he had that event twice. I went to the second one in 2009 and I had a blast. I mean, it was the first time I was in a room with people who knew who Jerry Goldsmith was and Alex North and all this. And I'm like, you know who these people are? Oh, so I just being in a room for a couple hours, I was just enamored, and I got to know a lot of people from that event. I got to know Henry Stanley, who's now one of my best friends. I know his wife. I stayed with them for many years on trips and stuff. But Lucas, the third year, he was getting a little nervous because people were flying in all over the world. And he was like, we're just sitting in a room talking. So he was just a little nervous, and he was also very busy with a lot of projects. So I said, I'd love to take this over. I said, I had a blast doing this. And I also told him, I said, I think this is important, to have an event where these people who feel kind of lonely and isolated, they can, if they can afford it, come to LA and hang out for a weekend with people who know who you are. And a lot of times, a lot of these people we get together, we have a very similar mentalities. And a lot of times we don't talk about soundtracks. We just talk about life and what they're doing and all that stuff. So I took it over from Lucas on the third year because I thought it was important. And Lucas was great. He was like, take it over. Good luck. I also changed the name because I didn't want him getting in trouble if something should happen, God forbid, and then his name's dragged down with it. So I changed it to the Fans of Film Music. Daniel Schweiger came on board and helped me profusely getting composers. He's been hosting it. God bless him. Which has been a lot of fun. It's been, and what's interesting about this is so many people came forward of just wanting to help. They believed in it. They wanted to hang out. We had a great film cinematographer who filmed the first couple of years, Matthew Price. Another gal, Lori Magno, helped orchestrate like what's a yarn? The things that go around your neck with the little
lanyards.
Yeah, lanyards. Yeah. And Henry and Nancy, God bless them, helped with registration. And all these people, just Alan Dahl has done all our graphics. Nice. All these people just kind of came forward because they believed in it and they just wanted to have fun. And we had a photographer come, Iki Ikram, then Kaya Savaz did it. So it's fascinating how many people have come together for the greater good to see this through. And from that, Fans of Film Music, I was actually the first few years I was doing it while I was still living in Indiana. So I was putting on this event while I was living in Indiana. Then I moved out here.
And it's based out of LA, right? The whole event?
Yeah, all LA. I would organize it at home in Indiana. Then I would ship out everything I need for it. And I would go there. First 2 years, it was at Dark Delicacies, and Sue and Dale are some of my best friends. The great store, go visit them in Burbank. I'm still friends with them. So they really gave us our start. All these people helped to really start us. And God, thank you, all of you people and all these companies. So it was a great thing. And then I moved out here in 2013. And I didn't really have a job. I moved out here. Right. And then, let's see. Oh yeah, Varese. I got to know a couple of the guys at Varese Sarabande. Had some lunches with them. I knew Todd Turner, great guy, Brian Davis. And then they were needing some extra help in the shipping department. So I came on board, I think like January 6th or 9th, 2014, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm working at Varese Sarabande Records. Oh my God.
Now for those,
like I own everything.
Now, for those of you who are not as keyed into film scores as we are, Varese Sarabande is I would say, like the definitive label of all the film scores
For the past 40 years.
That label is everywhere. Whenever you go to the soundtrack section, it is all over the place.
Yeah, some of the stuff they've done is the Star Trek movies, Game of Thrones, tons of stuff, House of Cards, a lot of big franchises. So, me as a nerd, I'm like, oh my God, I'm working here. Plus I got free copies because I work there. So I'm like, I'm going to save money. I'm going to save money there.
There you go.
So worked with Todd in the back room shipping. It was wonderful. Todd's one of my best friends. Wonderful, wonderful guy. And then I was only supposed to work there 13 days. There was something about taxes or something. They said, we can't have you past 14 days. And I said, oh, okay. I don't know if I impressed him. I don't know what happened. The gods shine down on us. I don't know. But I went past the 14 days. They'd ask me opinions on this and that. And then I was co-producing albums within months. At one point, I was helping them with accounting, customer service. I mean, I was doing all these things, which I loved.
Yeah.
I'm a team player, and I'm like, what do you need help with? I'm happy to help. I'll do anything. So
yeah, I
was there for 5 great years. I was also part of the group that did the 8-disc Nightmare on Elm Street box set.
Oh, nice.
That's the one that has the sweater on it, and
yeah,
I was very happy to have been the one who mentioned the sweater idea. I said,
really?
I said, why? Whatever we could, because we have to see how much it'll cost and all that stuff, But I said, is it possible to see if we can have like a sweater over it? Freddie's sweater, and we priced it out and found a company who could do it. And it's like, yeah, we can actually do it. So I was happy. I was able to give one good piece of advice in 5 years to the company.
and those 8 discs, it's the original 7, including New Nightmare and Freddy vs. Jason, or is it the remake, the 2010 remake?
Freddy versus Jason's in there. Yeah, it's up until that. Yeah, the Graham Revell one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was a cool set. Then Varese was sold to corporate America, and then after a year of employment, they let 65% of the employees go. Sadly, and I was one of them. That was a hard time. Oh gosh, I was like, this was my dream job. Like this is perfect. I'm a film score fan. I love the composers. I know a lot of them. I know the fans. Like this is dream job. Like what am I going to do? And literally less than 2 weeks later, a friend of mine at Bohemia Group, who I'd known, who I'd met and had drinks with and some good sushi, he called me and said, hey, we've been wanting to open up a whole music division of repping composers. Yeah. And I heard about Varese Sarabande. I said, you'd be perfect. And I said, me? What?
Nice.
So he said, you need to come in and meet Susan Ferris, the CEO. And I said, okay. I didn't, but interesting enough, I had heard from, and I'm so unbraggadocious. I always preface things as like, and this is true. I heard from a lot of people who said, you'd be a great manager and agent because you love composers. You live and eat and breathe this. You're married to a composer. Your life is soundtracks. You're easy to get along with. You get stuff done. So I'd heard this before, I was like, oh, that's nice. Bless their heart. So I met with her and she hired me on the spot. And I asked her, I said, did you do your research on me? She said, oh yeah, I talked to a lot of people. And she said, everyone said that's a great idea. And I reached out to a top tier composer who's a friend of ours. And I asked him, I said, here's the job. They want me to be a manager. What are your thoughts? Because, you know me. And he said, you'd be perfect at that. So that's great.
That's great.
And that was Valentine's Day 2 years ago. So that's in a couple of weeks. I'm celebrating my 2-year anniversary at Bohemia Group. So
fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
So,
that's a great anniversary to have. Being able to do what you love and being surrounded by what you love. Now, we all have our lightning bolt moments. We all have that moment that just, allows us to kind of point in a direction and say, that's what I want to do. That's the field I want to be in. That's who I want to be. And for me, like as a lover of film scores, like I said in my intro, it was hearing the overture from Star Wars that stayed with me on a real, like, deep primal level. What was it for you? What was your lightning bolt moment? Tell us about that.
Well, it was
it really made you love film music. Yeah.
Well, this is a funny one. American Tail came out in, I think, 86.
Mm-hmm.
Holidays of 86, and I think my parents gave me the cassette. They weren't into music or soundtracks. They just said, oh, this is a kid's film, and this will be perfect for Peter, so they gave me a cassette.
Nice.
And I remember way back then, I remember fast forwarding the songs and only listening to the orchestral score cues by the London Symphony Orchestra. Now that's weird. That's strange. That's weird behavior. I was 9. I should have been skipping that boring orchestra crap and then gone to the fun upbeat songs, but I was the opposite.
No Cats in America, yeah.
But it was like, ooh, what's this? Ooh, what in credits? Ooh, I like this ooh, I loved it, and it went from there. It's just like I couldn't get enough film music. That was what sparked it. And funny enough, one of my clients, Holly Amber Church, at American Tail, was the same one that got her into what she's doing too. So that was an interesting thing to learn about Holly.
Kidding. Oh, that's fabulous. That's so cool. It's always good to find, like I said, it's always good to find those kind of kindred spirits, the ones that really kind of that validate what you're doing, what you love. I mean, everyone always wants to be like, just, like this is what I love. And sometimes we'll kind of take pride in the fact that we're like the little misfits that gravitate toward one thing. But it's when you find somebody else that is of that same sort of mindset, it's almost like these years hadn't been wasted, this is what it's all about, and that sort of community, that sort of vibe and everything just really
that's big. And that's what fans of film music is. I mean, the relationships that people have started from people all over the world flying in, they're now friends with each other when they fly in. It's like a big extended family. I mean, that's the big thing I love. And another thing, we had fans of film music at the Bridge for many years with Greg Curtis and Vicky, great people. And I always would tell Greg, I said, I've been on quite a few sessions, the big studios recording sessions. And every time I go there, my hair is standing up on my arms. I can't believe I'm here. I don't want to get in trouble. But it's still so magical. So I know that feeling. And just to see these people's reactions who have never been on a stage and their eyes are lighting up, they're just looking around. And I go, if I can get one person to feel what I felt the first time, then it's all worth it. Because that's a lot of work doing the fans of film music. I do everything. It's a lot of work, but I do all the organization on the back end and stuff.
It sounds like, from what you were saying at the beginning, how it really kind of started, it almost sounds like the way that the original Star Trek conventions were. Since that was
like a little fan kind of thing, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And also, as things get bigger, there's more politics, there's more confusions, there's more problems and everything else. But it all works out in the end. At the end of every event, we've actually had 11 perfect events. There's not been major snafus ever, and I can't even believe that. That's because, not because of me. That's because of everyone I've had help me. Literally, like I think of it. I'm just like the director a little bit, but everyone else is like doing everything. That's how I feel about it. I'm here because of everyone else.
Yeah. That's fabulous too. Was now when what I was saying before, like when I was a sophomore in college, and I exploring the performing arts class, went to go see the Green Playbill, and I saw music performed by Elliot Goldenthal, and I was like, oh, I think he's here. And so I asked one of the ushers, like, is Mr. Goldenthal here? The usher went ahead and got the head usher, brought her over to me, and said, like, who are you looking for again? I was like, Mr. Goldenthal, the composer. She went ahead and found him and brought him over to me. And he was so gracious and such a nice guy and everything. Signed my playbill, listened to me kind of gush and tell him I had 3 of his albums and everything. And he was just the nicest guy and everything. So that was really my first real full-on experience talking to a composer. What was your first experience like?
Oh, Lordy. Well, I mean, growing up in Indiana, my family, John Williams would go and play at the Chicago Symphony. So we went and saw him several times. And I remember the first time Sam just being like, there's the man. I mean, I still tell people out here, my spouse, composer Edwin Winter, and we still tell film music fans and fellow composers and all that. It's like, you've not seen John Williams and you live in LA? Dude, he's like 86, now 87, 88. How much time is there left? You need to go see this man so you can say, I saw the master.
Yep, I did. Yeah. I saw him. Yep. 2006.
It's mind-boggling.
2006, saw him in New York City. And at the Alice Tully Hall, and he did. It was a performance that with it was like a best of thing for both him and a tribute to Bernard Herrmann. So
Nice.
the first half was all Bernard Herrmann with Martin Scorsese introducing each segment, and then the other one was all Williams and Spielberg with Steven Spielberg there.
Wow.
And the finale, the big finale, of course, was the last 15 minutes of E.T. with the movie going as the film score. And I was the second half of that, I was bawling. I was such a mess. So I totally get what you mean when you have that sort of life-changing moment, almost when you get to see the man, when you get to see John Williams himself.
But see John in person, a few times, it didn't get me to go, I have to do something with film music. I never really thought about that. Like I have a telecommunications degree and a film minor. I wasn't really sure what the heck I was going to do. So though I loved film music, I never really thought of, and I also never thought I would work at a soundtrack label. It's like, I'm in Indiana. Right. I'm not going to be able to do any of that stuff. So it never dawned on me to do any of that stuff. But with all the trips I would have coming out to LA for my fans of film music, people wanted to meet me for some reason. I don't know why. Henry and Nancy wanted to meet me, and so many other people. And I was every time I'd go home and go, why do they want to meet me? I'm just some kid from Indiana. I'm of no importance. But they did. And what's funny is a lot of that was networking and getting to know people in this industry. But I didn't know that's what it was, because I was just like, hey, Peter, let's go have lunch. Okay, whatever. Yeah. But it was kind of in a way networking in some weird, strange way, which led to, the Vrez thing, because I got to know Todd and Brian. And then Brian had his own label, Note for Note Music, which I came upon and all that stuff. So it's but the first composer I met would be David Shire. He came to Ball State, which is where I went to school in Muncie. Oh, wow. What's funny is I was working the front desk of our dormitory. I was looking through our newspaper, and I said, oh, David Shire's going to perform. I was like, oh my God, Return to Oz, Bay Cities released. My God, it's like my favorite soundtrack. Nice. So I'm like, okay, he's 8 to 10. I'm like, it's 9:40. What? Oh, no. I remember I called someone to take over my last 20 minutes, and I ran upstairs to get my CD. I wasn't into soundtrack autographs then at all. Now I have like almost 6,000 autographed CDs. But I was not into it, but I was like, I'll just grab it. Yeah. So I literally caught the final 2 minutes of whatever song he was on the piano and someone was singing, and he was approachable. I went up to him and gushed like a nerd and said, love Return to Oz. And he signed it. Something like, nice. Dear Peter, great to meet you here in Muncie, David Shire, which I still have. And I was like, oh my God, I met David Shire. Yeah. I mean, I'm still that way. Like it took, I'd always remind composers, oh, it's a Peter Hackman. Like I did that with John Debney for years and years, because these people meet so many hundreds more people than we do. And if they don't remember my name, that's fine. I get it, because there's so many, they meet so many people, you know what I mean? So I'd always go, oh, hey, John, it's a Peter. And I remember one time he said, I know who you are. You don't have to keep reminding me. And I was like, John Debney knows who I am now? He knows my name. That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And John was gracious enough to accept me as a Facebook friend. So hi, John. John's great composer, musician, all that. Good guy. Absolutely. Absolutely. I am a fan. And so when you have those sort of experiences, when you get to, meet these great composers, what was it like, just kind of meeting that, obviously, David Shire, obviously you were a fan, obviously, sure. for all the right reasons. But when you get to meet, was there someone that you had known for so many years from all these different kinds of films and everything, that all of a sudden, there they are, meeting you? Let's see. Richard Bellis, who doesn't have a lot out there to listen to, but he's done a lot. But he did Stephen King's It miniseries in 1990. Oh, okay. I was very sick at the time. I suffer from severe asthma and really bad lungs, so I spent a lot of my years in hospitals. And I remember I was sick during that, and I remember the music, and I love the music. It's like one of my favorite scores. And the last track on the soundtrack, Hi Ho Silver, is just so nostalgic and heartfelt, and at the end it's uplifting. And we're now friends with him. I can't believe I even know who Richard Bell is. He even knows me. God bless him.
Yeah.
But I, met him, and I was just like, God, I told him, I said, that cue is literally in my top 3 favorite cues ever. And God bless him. He printed out a sheet music of it and signed it for me and gave it to me at a sign. And I'm like in tears.
Oh man, that's so cool. That is so cool.
Into his house, had lunch. He signed some It vinyls for me and some friends. Like, he is just the absolute, and he has such a great sense of humor. My God, he has a good sense of humor. I said, I hope I have that sense of humor when I'm your age here in a couple years.
Yeah.
That was one of them. But I have found most composers to be pretty cool, pretty down to earth. And I think a lot of them find out I have fans. People know me.
Yeah.
Vince DiCola did Rocky IV, and it sold. I mean, he's got gold records in his house. He is the most down to earth, Midwestern, nice guy. It's just like him and I got off together greatly. I mean, from the get go, we were good friends, and it's like we're both Midwest people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it is neat. It's funny. I've been to the Oscars a couple times with my good friend Marshall Harvey, and there's all these actresses and actors walking around, and I'm like, oh, that's neat. But it's not when I see a composer, I go, oh, there's John Williams. The actor. I should be the other way. I should be going, oh, look, there's Steven Spielberg walking around. Me, I'm like, oh, it's John Williams. I see Howard Shore.
Yeah.
Another one.
It'd be great
Dave
to see Howard Shore. Yeah.
Yeah. Dave Grusin was a biggie. He was playing at the Catalina Jazz Club, and I was still there working at Varese. We were doing some albums of his, and I used my Varese in afterward to go, oh, I work at Varese. We produced his albums. Like, oh yeah, go say hi.
Did he play some pieces from The Firm?
Oh yeah. I think he played The Love Thing, which is great.
Yeah.
But I went up to him afterwards and I said, oh, I work at Varese. We're doing some of your stuff. I'm huge fan of yours. And he's one of them that I was tongue tied. And as he's signing, the 600 or 700 CD covers I put in front of him, just kidding. I said, I didn't know what to say, because these people, they've heard everything. They've heard your story. Oh, I love this movie. Oh, I watched it with my grandfather. They've heard it. I just basically said, it really is just nice to meet you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, there's nothing I can say.
What can you say? It's just like, I mean, like you don't want to just stand there and go through their filmography. I remember somebody doing that when I got Oliver Stone's autograph.
Nice.
This one guy is just like, he's right. He was right in front of me, right next to me, actually. And while he's signing my Nixon book, because I got the Nixon script book.
Nice.
And he's signing that. And I had a question about him, about the soundtrack, of course, because it starts off with this really great, like, epic overture.
Yeah.
But that's not the way the movie starts. So I was going to ask him if that was, like a trailer, if that was a deleted opening or whatever. Didn't get a chance to ask him, because the guy right next to me was just like, oh, Oliver, I really love you. Platoon, Born on the 4th of July, and JFK. It was just like, he knows what he did.
Yeah.
I get it.
I get that too. Like when I go to conventions, I get autographs from celebrities and all that stuff. I'm such an autograph nerd, but I hate it when there's a line of people and the person up there is just yapping and yapping and yapping. It's like, get to your point, pay them the money, say how much you like it, and move on. Those people just keep talking and talking and talking. It's like, dude, come on, get with it.
Yeah.
I think of that. Like, if I'm in line, I don't want to be that person. And I'm sometimes too quick. I won't even get a picture because I don't want to be that person. But everyone behind me is going, hurry up, guy, come on. So I try to get through lines quick. So yeah, I totally get that story. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm very much aware of it too. Like, if there's a long line and I'm on it, and I'm very cognizant of who's in front of me and who's behind me. Yeah. So that way I know that if there's no one else behind me, then take a minute, relax and everything, just talk to them. But if they're pressed for time, say what you need to do and move on.
Yeah. Speaking of Nixon, I met John Williams a few times. Ooh. And the first time I met him, it was at the Society of Composers and Lyricists Oscar luncheon at a composer's house who did one of the airport films. The name escapes me right now, but John was gracious with everyone and all that. And I waited till he was outside, and I just quickly took a moment of his time. I said, Mr. Williams, and he said, oh yes, grabs my hand, keeps holding it. dead eye to eye, like his agent's next to him. He gave me his whole, and he does that. He'll give you his whole undivided attention. It's like there's no one else. And I told him, that shortly before my dad passed, we went and saw you, and it was literally one of the last great times with my dad. He said, if I could just hear the Raiders theme over and over again for the whole night, I'd be fine. And John, he just thanked me, and he's like, no, thank you. My goodness, thank you so much. It wasn't, he's pawning me off. He just stopped dead, held my hand eye to eye, and just heard everything. It's just, and I've seen him do that. He's so gracious with everyone. God, I love him.
Yeah, that really, and I've always had, nothing but, absolute respect for the man. And just, he's, when you're the greatest, living composer of our time, you really just, you have to accept that. He is the greatest. There is no one better in that field. Yeah.
He doesn't think he is. He's still trying to, maybe I can make this a little bit better. I mean, that is the mentality I wish more people had in this industry.
Yeah.
My clients come to me for advice. I help them and all that. And in the day I go, God, I helped him. I hope I helped him. I did my best. I'm always second guessing myself, and everything. Cause I don't have an ego. I don't think, of course they're coming to me. I do everything. No, I don't have that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So has there been anyone that you have still yet to meet that's still like on your list that you're still able to meet? Like, I know that you were saying in your bio how James Horner's music really got to you. Did you ever get to meet James?
I didn't, and that's a sad. James Horner, James Horner was my favorite composer. I love all film music, but I generally go towards like really emotional, like those 10 plus 15-minute long in credit cues that he does, where in Legends of the Fall and all these beautiful, to Jillian on her 37th birthday, those types of pieces. It's just I call it like thinking music. It's like music to sit at the beach and just ponder life's decisions and just relax. And when I moved out here in 2013, he was still around. He had I think the 33 was that. I saw billboards. I said, oh, that's awesome. And I thought, I'm going to meet him at some point, or at least be in the room with him, because they do screenings and all that for movies. So, and he does do them. So I said, I will probably be in a room with him, and I'll be fine with that. I can say, okay, I was in the moon with James Horner. But then, and then in 2014, I believe it was, he passed away, and that was. I went to work the next day, and my boss at the time, Darren Blumenthal, wonderful boss, my best boss I've ever had.
Yeah.
I was crying, and I said, I think I need to work from home. He's like, you're fine. Go take a few days, work from home. You're good to go. And I was like, that's a good boss. Cause he knew I don't, this isn't just a job working at Varese. It's like, I loved every single thing about it. So it's a great boss. So that hit me. That hit me and Edwin pretty hard, because he's also a huge James Horner fan. So, ugh.
Yeah. Was there like one particular score of his that you really just kind of like hold up as,
I really love the New World action-y scores. I like The Perfect Storm.
Oh, that's a great score.
That
is a great score.
The second to last track, I forget the name of it, but
the one from like right at the very not the very, very end, but the one like where it's just like Mark Wahlberg just like out in the water.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just
I've heard the Let's Go Boys track like over and over again. That's one that I really love.
Did you know that they made a single that has the Yours Forever with, I think, dialogue, but then they have another one called Longliners, which is a 4-minute track, a suite of music, which is a little different. That's not on the soundtrack. So for nerds out there like me, go search it out. And also, interesting enough, if you can find the FYC to the New World, the first track on the soundtrack had birds chirping. On the FYC, those bird chirpings are gone. So in case you want that without bird chirping, go to eBay, have fun, good luck paying $600.
There will be fans that will do it. I won't be one, but there will be fans that will do it.
I paid $200 for the Brokeback Mountain promo back in the day, and I'm like, that's just so stupid. I paid like $150 for Robert Folk's two CD set, and I'm like, this is so stupid. But I needed it, so I did it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't gone that extravagant. I mean, there are certain soundtracks that I just knew I was going to own, just like the Craig Armstrong score to The Incredible Hulk. You know, like when I first
Oh
heard
yeah.
that one, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to own that. And that's still, to me, I would put that in like the top 5 of all the MCU
Oh yeah, it's
scores.
great.
It's fabulous.
Anyway,
And
it has a nice. It's nice. It had a nice hint of the Joe Harnell. Da 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 da. I love.
yes, yeah, that was great. Yeah, it's so good. And the just hearing like so much, and the opening track actually on the album, the Arctic, which was the deleted scene, their deleted opening, that inspired so much of my own writing. Like that piece and the main title, that was just like I picture, because I like my story editor, Jerry Ann Geller, always made a point to say, like, you have a very cinematic approach to your writing, which basically just means that as she reads it, she can almost like see it on the screen. And that's something that was a wonderful, wonderful compliment that I, hold very dearly. And I always pictured this, this type of prologue that revolved around that piece, around the Arctic. And then it even just like the very beginning of the main title is the end of that prologue. And then that leads into this opening credits sequence that I still have in my head that I've had for several years. And the book has only been out since 2018. So film music really, really just gets the juices flowing creatively for me. And
yeah, I've also found it to be, and I'm sure it's the same way with pop songs, but like, whatever emotion I'm feeling, I've got like, it's like I got James Horner with the London Symphony, helping me through this. My film music has helped me more than anything, to get through the troubles and stuff of life and stuff. And the fact that I'm working in this industry in any way, shape, or form, I'm shocked. Like I will never be like, this will never be normal to me. Like, of course I'm doing this, and I'm a manager. Every day I'm just like, wow, I can't believe it.
And that just is what just keeps you going. It's like the fact that you're still just of that mindset of just, this is what you love. It doesn't get old, and therefore it doesn't feel like a job, does it?
No, not at all. And also I know a lot, you got Facebook friends, and, they talk about, oh, it's the Wednesday hump. And I've had jobs like that where it's like, oh my God, help me through this weekend. And the fact that I'm able to do these things, and so many people don't have those kind of jobs, it saddens me that a lot of people can't have that. I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. But, you want to talk about my label that I co-own?
Absolutely.
No, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
let's go on to that one.
Sure. When Varese ended, and then, Bohemia picked me up, my good friend, Brian Davis, at Varese, he turned into a contractor. So he was not an employee. And then he started his own label, a couple years ago. And then when I was let go, he asked me if I want to come on board and help him and do all that good stuff. And I said, sure. So we've been working together the last couple of years, and we literally just released today, Young Frankenstein London cast recording, Mel Brooks. And the first 50 orders are autographed by Mel Brooks.
Oh, wow.
And we had a meeting with him, and his people were absolutely hysterical. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, just to be in Mel Brooks's office, and what's funny is he's so interesting in that he's 90s, but he's all there, and he'll throw something out to you, and you can see he's watching you to see if you take to it, if you laugh, and then if it does, it looks like it's energy for him to keep going, to do something else to make you laugh. It was interesting watching him, but that's the vibe I got. A super sweet guy, knew what he wanted. And just to be able to work with him and his team, and that fact he's going to sign 50 copies of our CD, which he never does that stuff, is like, wow.
Yeah. 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 That score too, Young Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
Such an amazing score.
Yeah.
Yeah. I truly, truly love
the London cast. The London cast has the music and lyrics by Mel Brooks, but it also has excerpts from the John Morris score as well. So nice. There is. So for those who love John Morris, which I love as me too,
absolutely.
There is some quotes from the Transylvania Lullaby and all that stuff in there. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. That's
so cool. So for note, we do archival stuff. We do a lot of newer releases, a lot of composers who, want to get their stuff out, because we totally believe in new talent, getting their music out there. And it's also like me, being a manager, I know how important it is for them to get as much music out as possible, especially on Spotify.
Yeah.
Because a lot of music soups, check out Spotify and listen. So for me, I'm always like telling everyone, get your music out there. Just get it out there in case someone comes across it. I mean, Jordan Peele, he ran across, I wasn't a Michael Abels, a piece on YouTube. Now he scored 2 of his films. Michael Abel was in the stratosphere of composers, and the rest is history. By the way, Michael Abels is one of the nicest, kindest humans I've ever met, and uber talented.
So cool. and a great, and such a, I absolutely love the score to Us.
Oh, they're great.
So good. That is so good.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the and the remix of I Got 5 on it, just like I've gone to that so many times over. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Good.
And I know that one of the clients that you have is Christopher Young, who I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
What was it like getting to meet him?
Well, I met Chris. Chris occasionally does conventions, rarely, but occasionally. So I've seen him here and there in the horror circuit.
Yep.
He's signed at like Dark Delicacies or Creature Features. So I've ran into him here and there. He didn't remember me, and that's fine. I mean, I take that doesn't bother me. Some people are like, I met you last year. Why don't you remember me? I'm not that way. I'm like, these people meet hundreds of people. If you don't remember my name, that's fine. I don't care.
Right.
So, and then I started working at Varese, and then I did Fans of Film Music, and he was a guest at Fans of Film Music the second year back in 2011. God, I've known him for over 10 years now. Wow. So
that's fabulous. Yeah.
I told him, I said, let's have a party. And he's like, sure, let's do it here. So at your house, you want me to give people your address? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So we had this massive party. We've actually had 2 parties at his house. And I'm telling you, man, people still talk about it, of just everybody getting together. He got all the food, and other composers came, and it was just fun. Soundtrack fans, composers hanging out. It was 2 great parties. So that was fun. And then at Varese, I helped with a soundtrack called Wilson's Heart, which is a really cool game score he did. I also was co-producer with the great Kerry Mansfield and Brian Davis from Varese on the 8-disc Nightmare on Elm Street box set. I coordinated with Chris of getting the music transfer and all that good stuff. And just here and there, and we were at we were at a service for, I believe, Nick Redman, who passed away at he worked with 20th Century Fox on a lot of great releases for soundtracks. He'd had his own Twilight Time. Really good guy. And Chris was there, and a lot of other people. And I was talking to Chris, and I said, Chris, they let me go. They let me and so many other people go at Varese. And I said, I'm now repping composers. And he quickly said, we need to do lunch next week. So nice. First thing he said, and I said, oh, I mean, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, he wants to pick my brain or something. I mean, he's not going to ask me. I mean, you're Chris Young. But he talked to me, and he said, I've seen what you've done. I've been impressed with you. We've been friends for 10 years. And he wanted to sign with me. I'm like, okay.
That's fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I what's even nerdier is I told him, I said, I own all of your CDs, all of your promos, and I think they're all autographed too. But I think there's something good about, and maybe really beneficial, having, maybe, I don't know, I'm talking out my butt, but someone who's not just your manager agent, but they actually listen to your music. Like, this isn't just a job. This is like, they listen to your music. They know your music. Like, if someone says, hey, we need to do a demo, we need 8 tracks that's more industrial sounding. Do you know what in Chris's filmography is? Like, oh yeah, I can do that in a heartbeat. Most people can do that because, they don't listen to this music. As I tell my spouse and friends of mine, I said, my whole life listening to soundtracks was like pre-work. It was like getting me ready for all these jobs, because it's like at Varese, besides Robert Townsend, there really wasn't someone there who, if they said, hey, it's Jerry Goldsmith's birthday, we need 30 tracks, can you put this together in 5 minutes? Well, that's easy. I type in Jerry Goldsmith. I know what soundtracks are ours. Medicine Man, we'll use The Trees. The Omen, we'll use Ava Satina. I mean, I knew exactly what tracks to do. Besides Bob, who is really, really busy with his great concerts and producing his own great soundtracks, it was me. And that, I guess, was resourceful in the fact that, all this odd knowledge and listening actually helped me later in life in all these jobs, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Wow. That's so cool.
I'm blabbering.
So with no, it's fine. It's fine. So with everything that you've done, like all the different events that you've chaired, you have your own label, and you've worked with all these different composers. You've signed 7 now, and what's next on your bucket list? Because you're doing a whole lot here, and
Yeah.
you're literally living the dream.
Well, you talked about earlier composers you haven't met yet.
Yeah.
I really love Christopher Gordon. I think he's in Australia, I believe. I've not met him. He's high on my list. I'd love to meet him someday.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Another composer who, Rock at Gibraltar, is a score from '88. It's a beautiful score. And I always loved the soundtrack. Then when I started working at Varese, I told him, I said, we got to do the soundtrack.
Yeah.
It fell through, and then Entrada Records picked it up, and it's my holy grail, my one holy grail of unreleased music, and I was able to produce it. And I told Andrew,
awesome.
The composer, said, if I never produced another album, I'm fine. Like, if this is all I ever did, I'm fine with it. I got my one holy grail out. I'm a happy camper.
That is awesome. It's so cool.
But what's next on my list? Just repping these great composers and helping them in any way, shape, or form. And, that to me is great. Edwin's doing good with his career. He's doing a lot of good game work. He's going to have some movies coming up once COVID's gone.
Right.
Fans of film music. I really employ people, keep an eye on the Fans of Film Music socials and check out our website when we have our next event. Hopefully we'll have it in the fall, and hopefully, we can all be together, because I'm telling you, if you really feel lonely, or like, I wish I could actually meet people. It's one thing to chat on a Facebook forum. It's another thing to come out. And I'm telling you, you will be welcomed with open arms. Like, we are all very nice. We always try to have some gatherings where we just kind of maybe go and just sit, maybe at the smokehouse, restaurant, just talk, just get to know each other. So, save up your pennies and dimes. We'd love to have you come out and just hang out with us and get to know us. It really makes you not feel so isolated. God bless the internet. That helps as well. But, seeing people in real life, you'll love it.
Absolutely.
You'll absolutely love it. Yeah. It's fun.
And
Community building.
So that actually leads right into a really good question that, a question that I usually use when we're right at the very end of all of this. And this is what sort of advice you would have for anyone kind of looking to follow in your footsteps to get involved in film music, however possible. What sort of advice would you have for that?
I would say have a good attitude, be extremely helpful. Like, I've donated my time, like Joe LaDuca. I know Joe LaDuca, great guy. Super, super great guy. He did the Evil Dead series and the Xena and all that, the Hercules, which is some really great music.
Yeah.
He was doing an event at Amoeba, and I texted him, I think it was, and I said, hey, Joe, you're doing this event. Do you need any help? Like, I already worked at Varese. Like, I wasn't doing this to be like, what in could I get with Joe? It's like, I already know him. I've done enough events, and I thought I could probably be useful. And he said, oh my God, yes, please, and thank you. So I went there, and I just, I was anticipating like stuff like, Joe, you need a water? Oh, I would love a water. Hey, can you get him a water? I was anticipating. It was like publicist, just trying to help, and he loved it. And, I helped him a little bit. Just doing stuff like that, Richard Kraft's big on that as well. And I think there is something to that, of just being helpful and useful, of just donating your time occasionally. Because, when someone says, oh, they're really helpful and useful, I could use that person over here and there and all that stuff. So there is something to that, I think. But yeah, did I answer the question, or am I blabbering again?
No, this is great. This is fantastic. And so you mentioned before fans of film music on social media.
Yeah. Where else
can they find you? Where else can fans find you?
Well, Fans of Film Music is a website, brand new website with a lot of photos of our past events and all the people we've had. As I was redoing the website with my spouse Edwin, who did so much, God bless him. I was, I'm looking at this Alumni Helm. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, just looking at all these composers who've said yes to me. I mean, that first year when I had John Ottman, Michael Wadmacher, John Debney, Tyler Bates, Stu Phillips, wow. I was just like, how did I get these people? And they just, one after another just said, oh yeah, I'll come. Cause I'm like, why would you come to some store with someone you don't even know and do this. And they did that. And I was just like, oh my God. And then the next year, Brian Tyler, freaking Charlie Fox,
Wow.
9 to 5.
Nice.
And Ken Thorne, Superman 2 and 3, Brad Fight. I asked Brad that, I said, at the event, because we had great rapport.
Right.
I was up at his house last year, sweet guy, him and his wife. And I said, why did you come to this? I said, at the time of fans of film music, I said, there's one image of you on the internet. And he said, every so often I like to come out of the woodwork and do something. And he said, yeah, you seem like a cool guy. And I said, well, thanks. But just, man, this is how I felt.
Brad's got some awesome music under his belt, too. Yeah. Like, it's so good.
I never thought in my life I'd ever meet a composer, ever. Yeah. I just, I'm a film score guy. I love the music. I've seen John Williams a couple of times, and that's that. Right. So to be where I'm at, to have been able to meet some of these people and have some friendships and actually rep a few of these people, like, dude, I'm like, if I died tomorrow, like, I'd be like, I lived a good life. I did some incredible things, I'm done. I'm happy. I'm a happy man.
And the great thing is, you're not done. There's so much. There's a whole lot more to that's on the horizon. I'm so looking forward to hearing all the great news about more stuff that you've done, more stuff that you're working on, different projects, different composers. I'm psyched. I'm really, really excited for what you have in store, what the whole industry really has in store. And I say to all of you out there that are film score lovers, you have a home here. You have a home here. You have a home with Peter. We love to hear from you guys, and we love to. This is just a really, really wonderful industry.
Also, let me throw in there. Yeah. There's a great website where you can go and talk about film music, filmscoremonthly.com. They have a great message board. Mm-hmm. That's where a lot of people go and talk about film music, new releases, old releases. So if you don't know about it, check it out. Film Score Monthly, Lucas Kendall, great place to talk and all that good stuff.
That's great. And I hope that all of you that have been listening, not only film score lovers who now all of a sudden have some new avenues to explore, but those of you who have their own passion. And as long as you keep on pursuing it, as long as you make it something that is truly your own, something that you continue to pursue, it's just going to be just one more fulfilling day after another. And I really hope that all of you experience these sort of things that Peter has gone through, that I've gone through with my writing, that I go through with my podcast, and getting to talk to all these great people is just such a blessing. And I really hope that all of you are as inspired by all of this as I am. And so for Peter Hackman, this is George Sirois saying to all of you, ever upward, and I will see you next week.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. If you've never been an Audible customer and want to see what they offer, just go to www.audibletrial.com/ExcelsiorJourneys and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title for free and start listening. It's that easy. Why Audible? Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, and entertainers. And with this free 30-day trial, you'll have your pick of it all. You can hear books of all genres narrated by Jim Dale, Stephen Fry, Will Patton, Alex Hyde White, Jeff Brick, Neil Shaw, William Demerit, and even a few by me, George Sirois. So go to www.audibletrial.com/ExcelsiorJourneys and start your own 30-day journey with Audible today.